tohu wabohu. That's Hebrew. Hey everybody, it's Pastor Justin Walker here, and we have got a very deep study today. I hope that you are ready to go deep. I hope all my good students are sitting in the back going, yes, me, I want to go deep. That's what we want to do today. We want to go deep with the study, and there's really only one way to do that. We need to look at what God said, and we need to really evaluate what was happening. It's one thing to just read through the scriptures, but it's another thing to study and to really look deep and say, what was the Lord saying here? Now notice that. That's one thing that we're going to talk about over and over again when it comes to studying the Bible. We never want to say, what does that passage mean to me? Okay, now I know you've probably heard that. You might even have been in Bible studies or even led a Bible study where you've said, what does that passage mean to you? Repent of that and never go back. You don't want to know, what does this passage mean to me? What you want to know is, what does the passage say? Once you know what the passage says, then you can say, how does that apply to me? I know what it says. Now that I know what it says, what did God mean? What did the writer mean? Now, how does that apply to my life? That's what we want to do. That keeps us from wild interpretations where we go somewhere else. Okay, there's my soapbox for the morning. Before we get into the scriptures, don't forget you have a chance to win one of 2 Bibles this week. I've got one for a guy, but guys, you're slacking. I don't think there's one comment from a guy on that video. So if you're a dude, go back and watch. I know I said dude. Go back and watch the video and sign up. We've got one for a guy and one for a girl, or at least that was the goal when I bought them. They're New King James Version. They're real thin. They're a thin line Bible, which I really like. They're about $20 value a piece. Actually, they're $19.99 a piece. And I will ship them to you at no cost to you at all. Also, if anyone wants a Bible reading plan, then just let me know, and I'll be sure to mail one of those as well. I'll mail you the schedule. That's to anybody who wants one, and I'll give those Bibles away later this week. All right, that's enough preliminary talk. Let's get into the scriptures. I said tohu wabohu. Let's get into that. It's Genesis chapter 1, and we pick up today in verse 2, but we read a little further. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. Now that's as far as we're going to make it today in the scriptures. But I want to point out, so let's just start with that verse 2. We remember from last week that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. And so we pick up in verse 2, and the earth, just the earth, was without form and void. That's the Hebrew words tohu wabohu. And void literally means, or excuse me, let me start with tohu, which is literally to mean formless. It means worthless. It means chaotic. The word tohu literally means, we've translated it formless, but it means chaotic. Now, I want you to ask yourself a question before I go any further. Did God create something that was chaotic? And then bohu, it's tohu wabohu is how the Hebrews have it, but bohu literally means an undistinguishable ruin. Okay, something that's not even recognizable. We've translated that to mean void. It was formless. It was void. Tohu wabohu. And then we go a little further and we see this. We see that, and darkness was on the face of the deep. So we have chaos, and we have undistinguishable ruin, and we have darkness. And all throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament, darkness is used to describe that which is evil and that which is away from God. Jesus said that we're children of the light. We're not children of darkness. And so the question that I have for you is, did God, number one, did God create something that was chaotic? Well, I think the answer to that is no. And did God create something that was in any way evil? No. Now, you could say right now, you could say, Pastor, I disagree with you. And I think that Genesis 1 is just as simple as what he is saying, that there was just a blank planet. It was just covered in water, and that's all there is to the verse. And I would say to you, I'm not going to argue with you. If you feel that way, that's fine. You can even leave it down in the comments. If you feel like it was just a blank planet and that's what God was trying to get across, you have every right to believe that. Now, some people would take right here and they would say, well, Justin, there was a gap. There was a gap from Genesis 1 to Genesis 2. Now, I don't believe that that is so either. The context in a moment says that the morning and the evening were the first day. Okay, the separation of light and dark in the morning and the evening were the first day. And so we have to establish that in this video series, we believe in 24-hour periods, 6 24-hour periods, that God creates the heavens and the earth. And so as God begins to unpack for us what happened in the creation, he tells us that in the beginning he creates the heavens and the earth, and there's a darkness over the earth. There's void, it's formless, it's undistinguishable ruins, it's chaotic. That's the words he chose to use. I didn't choose to use those words. I'm just simply looking at them and saying, what does that mean? Not what does it mean to me, but what does that mean? What was God saying? And here's the truth. I don't have time to get through all of these scriptures, but the Bible speaks of a cosmic battle, if you will. And it's not a battle in the sense of, oh, God might lose, okay? But there is an opposition to God. There's an opposition to righteousness, and there's an opposition to good that has been waged for what I believe we're seeing in Genesis 1 and verse 2 since before the creation of the world. If you were to go and read, now here's where I don't have time, but I'll give them real slow to you so you can go and look them up for yourself. Start with Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 17. Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 through 17. Now, there we're hearing about the king of Babylon, but you see very quickly that it gets turned from the king of Babylon, and all of a sudden we're talking about someone different. And I believe that that person we're talking about is Satan, who tried to ascend to heaven, tried to make himself God, and God threw him out of heaven because of it. You can also find Ezekiel chapter 28, and that's verse 2, and then also verses 11 through 17. Let me do that again. That's Ezekiel chapter 28. Start in verse 2 and then read verses 11 through 17. And you'll see the king of Tyre. But yet again, the king of Tyre quickly gets turned, and it doesn't seem like we're talking about Tyre anymore. We're talking about this guy that was made perfect. He was made perfect in the sight of the Lord, but then he decided he wanted to be God. And God throws him out of heaven because of it. And then later, in Revelation chapter 12, you can find that Michael, the archangel, and this giant dragon, who later is very distinguished as the devil, who we'll get to a little bit later when we talk about the serpent in that very same passage. So you see that Michael has this Michael the archangel has a war with Satan, and Satan is thrown out of heaven. And so what I'm saying to you is this: there's no gap. Okay, there's a 24-hour period, and the 24-hour period that happens, God creates the heavens and the earth is a surface of water. We see that in a moment, that the earth is covered in water. But the moment that he creates it, Satan is trying to destroy it. He is trying to cover it with darkness. He's trying to cover it with evil. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve. Adam is told to subdue the earth, but there's no weeds yet. What's he subduing it from? And we also find that they're placed in a perfect garden. But why weren't they just placed into the whole world? Because there is evidence that there is the cosmic battle between God and Satan. Not that God in any way is going to lose that battle. God's from before the foundations of the world, he has known that he would send his son Jesus into the world. And so God creates the heavens and the earth, and then Satan immediately attacks the heavens and the earth. That's what I'm saying to you, is what we see here. We see that God now says, because Satan is there, that first of all, God's spirit is there. We're in verse 2, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And then God said, let there be light. Now pay attention to this. And God saw that the light, that it was good. Now how come he didn't call the darkness good? How come he didn't say he saw the light and the darkness? He saw the morning and the night, and he saw the morning was good and the night was good. We didn't see that, did we? he saw the light, and the light was good. And that's because that light is a supernatural light stemming from none other than Jesus himself. This is not the sun yet. We don't see the sun created until a little bit later. First, we see that God creates the heavens and the earth. And immediately Satan attacks, and he is wanting to bring evil on the earth. And there's a darkness on the surface of the earth. And so the Spirit of God is hovering over the face of the waters, and the Son of God becomes the light. And he produces the light, if you will. God says, let there be light, and there was light. It's not the sun yet, but it is light. And you can actually find that later in the scriptures. I'll be talking about this on Sunday. You can find that later in the scriptures as well, that Jesus is the light of the New Jerusalem. And so it's not strange for us to see that Jesus is the light. So he is the light, and he is over the whole world. Now, at this point in creation, is the world rotating? I don't know. The sun's not created yet. This is a special time, a special formation in the creation of the world, where God has created the heavens and the earth, and he has put light on the earth. And obviously that light is a physical light, but it is also light in the sense of the symbolic sense, just like darkness in the symbolic sense is evil. It is also the sense that God is creating what is good, even when Satan is trying to create what is bad. And what a picture of our own lives that we can see there. This is what God has always done. God takes what is dead, what is formless, what is void, and he makes it alive. Jesus has come that you might have life. And I hope that you found that life in him today. That's as far as I think we can cover in one short video without getting into hour-long videos. And so we'll stop there for today. What a cool picture we have from Genesis chapter 1, verses 2 through 5, that the earth was void and formless. I said that weird. That's formless and void, and there was darkness on the face of the earth over the deep. But the Spirit of God moved, and the sun brought the light, and God made what is good out of what was dark, out of what was Satan was already trying to bring evil. God can bring good into your life through his son Jesus, and I hope that everybody knows that. Okay, don't forget, you've got Bible reading today. Everybody should be doing it. We're going to read through the whole Bible this year. It's 2020, so make sure that you grab one of those calendars. Today should be Genesis chapters 8 through 10. So I know we didn't make it through 8 through 10. I told you we won't be able to go as fast in these videos as we're reading. There's too much material there, and I don't want to skip that much. So we're going to go through the whole Bible in this video series, but I don't think I can do all that in 2020. So comment below. I love to see your comments. I love to hear from you. Keep up with the Bible reading. Let me know if you're keeping up with the Bible reading. So today's going to be Genesis chapters 8 through 10. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.